Well, hey, good morning, everybody. This is Justice's Waiting Room, a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. And it's Saturday. Morning, Bella. Haven't seen y'all in a while. Morning, Kara and Bob. Nice and early today. Good to see ya. Hope you're doing good. You'll notice the lack of production in this show. I don't I don't sing most of the time. Um, I also don't sit behind a graphic and play music I don't own. So we've decided instead that the opening song for the show is Edwin Starr's War. Okay? So, hey, if you're one of those people that feels the need to connect uh, with the show, I might not listen to the whole song every single day. But we do throw the link as a general thought process. War is no bueno. Uh, gotcha. What is it good for? Absolutely. Is there like a good? Is there world politics? Is that like one of the subreddits? World news. Okay. I'm not necessarily expanding my range. I just kind of wondered this morning. Is there a subreddit for world news? Yeah, 46 million people. Okay. So, where to begin? So, what I saw that's telling, right? Um, Ghislaine Maxwell got moved to a minimum security prison like that. I think that it's very in your face. Um, the level of corruption here. I'm assuming you move her so you can either have her knocked off or pardoned and released. And I just want to make sure that I say that allegedly all these people ran a fucking sex trafficking ring, and Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, both of Donald Trump's fucking wives, at least two, his kids, all participated in a massive sex trafficking ring. Mhm. Allegedly, for the better part of 2 decades. And then, interestingly, hey, you know what? I've found it difficult to smile lately. And Listen, I am that crazy person that can somehow apply everything to themselves. Um, I had a Jewish friend growing up from now listen, this is some sweet shit, okay? I'm talking from pre-K through the end of third grade, so about 5 years. Patrick Vanish and I were like best friends, hip to hip, everywhere we went. Okay, he's a big gangly kid. I was a big gangly kid. Okay, rode bikes together, played Nintendo together, sleepovers, Boy Scouts, sports, all that shit, right? Um, I moved away at the end of third grade, and we wrote letters to each other for a few years. And then obviously, once you can like fucking drive a car, like sitting around writing letters to your boyhood friend, right? Kind of goes out the window. But we both wound up at Purdue. And the funny thing about my time at Purdue is that I kind of bounced around trying to fit into the athletic program because I was told to do that. I was kind of pulled and pushed from football to basketball to wrestling to even water polo. And I literally went to a water polo practice because I was a big, gangly athlete in college because I heard they had a hard time recruiting. And I went in and I sat in the bleachers and I watched them practice and shit. And Patrick got out of the fucking pool looking like a Greek god. And I was just like, dude, what the fuck? You're huge. And he was like, oh my god. And we partied together for a couple years. That's like completely normal life. Uh, Nothing about our friendship is like miles different from any of the other friendships I've had. Our conversations, the social gatherings that we went to, were no different than like anyone else. We already got our live access taken away on TikTok. I said allegedly on the front and back end of that shit. Appeal. Submit. That's hilarious. We 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 got banned already. Oh man, that's a land speed record. 8 minutes. Yeah, yeah. Yo, what I was gonna say was is that Jewish people aren't a monolith, and also they aren't so different than anyone else that I've ever known in my whole life. So no, I don't have the outgoing expectation that when I run into a Jewish person, they are pro-Israel and that if I'm not, it somehow makes their life less safe. No. Uh Meta does the data for the US right now. They are the data handler in the United States. So, hold on. Yo, you know what's funny? TikTok sent me a new type of ad to get me to watch mainstream media live on TikTok right after I got banned. But anyway, what I was saying, what the whole point of telling the story was to say, like, look, I grew up with a little Jewish boy as like my best friend. We were even like friends in college and shit. Uh, but he wasn't like so different than like anyone else, like that I've ever met in my entire life, from all walks of life. So one of the things that like I can pretty confidently say is like most people don't have that level of exposure to Jewish people or like families or the Jewish community. But like I kind of grew up around that shit because like our families were friends too. Like my parents were kind of friends with his parents and shit. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Cece. Uh, TikTok's data is managed by Meta in the United States. That's why it went down. The cover up was like the government's banning TikTok, and the reality was they unplugged it, changed the data handlers in the United States, and Meta, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, his company is managing the data in the United States. Hmm? Remember how fast we get banned on social media for not being racist, for trying to stick our neck out and tell our story and say like, look, I had friends that were like Jewish. I have no outgoing expectation that a Jewish person's pro-Israel. I guarantee you this: if I know anything about numbers, a higher percentage of white people are pro-Israel than Jewish people. You heard what I said. Like you'll find more knuckle dragging white folks than people that are actually Israeli. Yeah, just regular folks leading regular lives. You're exactly right. And again, I mean no harm when I say like Jewish people aren't a monolith. My experience with Patrick and his family as a child is not reflective of the Jewish people as a whole. No, not at all. They were way secular. Okay, yeah, which is weird. Cease. It's weird. It's weird that we see people and we try to put them in a box. Mm. More importantly, yeah, squint. I want to point out that my, 5 or so years of my life, my developmental years, spent around a Jewish family featured zero Israeli flags. Just want to throw that out there. Mm. Yeah, I think people probably put me in a box too. I mean, obviously, when you're wearing the Fox Trot Delta taco hat, the cat's out of the bag. Um, but damn, Kanye West, that was fast. I don't think we. Yeah, they really don't want us. My mom, when she was growing up, people just try to speak Yiddish to her. Wild. Zeke, paraphrasing, said he saw a video where some African community adopted the Jewish faith, monotheistic, right? Just to make sure we identify our faiths, right, so that we can accurately talk about them. Am I right that in the Jewish faith we are monotheists? Donald Trump wants to pardon Diddy. Yeah, yep. I think I've been saying that for a minute. Like, hey, he's gonna pardon Diddy. He and Diddy are were the life of the party. I just want to make sure I say that. I haven't said much because Diddy's a black man, and I want all the justice in the world for all the awful white people before I want it for the worst black person. That's the way I think about it. That's why I don't talk about Diddy. That's why I didn't shit on R. Kelly. There's a reason I don't talk about them people. Because until they hold one white person accountable for all the heinous shit they do, I ain't saying shit about Shannon Sharp. Actually, I ain't got shit to say about him. Fucking people want to talk about what's the other idiot's name that just went to jail and paid bail and got out. Him and Kwame Brown are going at it. First of all, here's what I have decided. By the way, here's your little sports talk for the day. If there's somebody's side who I don't want to be on that person's bad side, it's Kwame Brown. I have decided. It has been decided. I don't want to be on his bad side. Okay, Gilbert Arenas. That's his name. Uh, he's just too powerful. I don't. I don't want to fight him. But yeah, Gilbert Arenas was streaming, bragging about being out on bail, and before I have words for that, nah, I want accountability for like the first fucking white boy. One time. Before I am going to spend more than an iota having anything to say about people like R. Kelly. Uh, yeah, people like Diddy. Mm-mm. Let me try to take care of my own house before I try splitting us all up and shit. Like Charlie Kirk, for example, recently sat in front of a black person and lied. He accurately said black people make up 13% of the population and then lied and said they commit half the crime. When the data suggests white people commit a majority of the crime. Yep. That includes violent crime, white collar crime, blue collar crime, it don't matter. hmm SA, yeah. Why do you think all these white politicians are trying to eliminate SA law? So their fucking sons can have a chance at having a family because once that little girl finds out who your daddy is, she is never fucking you. Families from Naples, Italy, and Naples and Sicily were one country one time. So yeah, one of the things that I've learned from having black friends is to take care of your own house before you have words for the black community or black people or black celebrities. What words do you have for your own people? Like Donald Trump. Like what do you have for the worst among you? Yeah, we better have a whole lot more to say about people like Donald Trump and his enablers before you have something to say about bad people that also happen to be black. Hmm? That's how I feel about it. Because people did that shit my whole life. Man, you hear about R. Kelly? Yeah, I heard about R. Kelly. Damn, that's just the black community. Whoa, 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 back the fuck up. When I was a freshman at Purdue University, within 90 days of being at Purdue in the dorms, my roommate raped a girl. I walked in on it. So did my RA, who was our friend and wanted to play video games while we slept. And he would generally just be quiet and play video games while we slept and was a nice person. And he walked in on my roommate fucking a corpse. He was a white boy from Plainfield, Indiana. His name was Drew Ward. He left Purdue. I got to live by myself. He was a white boy. He went back to my church and told the community that we didn't get along politically. His family, his parents, called me a narc. So before you ever have words for a person of color that happens to be a bad person, you might wanna check out back. Hmm. See, I didn't know that. I did hear that he had trouble getting a job because I know that she pressed charges. And he was basically like exiled from Tippecanoe County and he's in the police system. But when you get to slink back home, blame your crazy roommate. See, the thing about it is, one of the reason that I don't have like what is considered like foundational support from like my high school and shit is because I was fucking despised, deeply despised in high school. Why? Because I was a journalist. Because I read you the fucking news every morning and then also played three sports a year, had a 3.86 GPA, was a fucking Eagle Scout, right? Got a 1510 in the SAT before I could fucking drive. Oh, oh, if you went to school before me or after me, you fucking hate my guts because I didn't have to do shit. I didn't have to do shit the rest of high school. So anything I did was by choice, and everywhere I went, people were like, "Why the fuck are you here?" That was what I got told the whole time I was in high school. I went to one fucking party. One. The whole time I was in high school. I was there less than 90 minutes before one of my classmates literally took my clothes and threw it in the pool. Like bag full of clothes and everything. And the host went and got my clothes out of the pool, put them in a dryer, dried them, and came out to me and said, "You need to get out of here. You need to leave." And I said, "Okay." And they're like, "It's nothing personal." And I left. And that was the parent, the host of that party, that washed my clothes, handed them to me, and told me to fucking leave. And I was like, "Okay." and I pulled out of their driveway and I pulled out of their neighborhood and I went down to the stop sign and turned left. And before I could complete my left hand turn, three fucking squad cars with their fucking lights on went flying by me to that house as the cops had been called. They drug tested every motherfucking body. I got called a narc because I was the only person at that party that did not do drugs, and that also got picked up when that party got dispersed. Ruined all the sports my senior year of high school because our best fucking athletes were all kicked off all athletic teams: football, basketball, wrestling. Yeah, we lost all them people. Hmm. And there were a lot of people that could not be convinced that I didn't narc on everybody because my entire family is in law enforcement. Of course, I didn't narc on everybody. I wanted to go to a party, I never got to go. Right? Always had some excuse not to go. And it wasn't that I wasn't having a good time. It's just people are one person is an asshole and ruined, a bag full of clothes. An adult tried to correct it and ultimately decided like, hey man, these people are disrespectful to you. Like, leave. And then they all got in trouble. Oh yeah. Hmm. Hmm. And again, did I narc on them? Absolutely the fuck not. What? One of the things that I am not is a narc. Never have been. Because I've been a fucking stoner since I graduated high school. I don't know the fuck you're talking about. I partied my ass off. What are you talking about? The fuck am I telling on people for? Fuck the police. I ran from the police when I was like 16 years old. Hmm. I am a naturally anti-authority. I want chaos. I just want a different kind of chaos. You know what I mean? I play video games. I don't have kids. I don't have debt. I have dogs and cats. I have a daily show where we talk about news and politics. You are going to have a hard time not liking me. It's going to be very difficult for you. It would have to be so deeply misguided. Man, misguided. Hmm. Anyone that has a dislike of me has had to hold that for 20 fucking years and watch me be awesome. Hmm. And I'm about to get real annoying too. Because you know what's going to happen? Here's the game plan. I'm going to put the social back in socialism. So, the game plan that I have is to found the American Socialist Party, and then since I'm making really good money at work and I'm really good at my job, uh, I can afford really good season tickets for Colts, Pacers, Fever, and I have a hobby that I have to travel to play competitively, which again is just more exposure on some kind of stage with some potential of camera, right? And so, no. One of the things that I knew that I never told anyone is when I got home, my parents were both awake. And as soon as I came in the door, my dad said, "Let me get this shit straight, okay? You go to one fucking party in high school." And I'm like looking at my dad like, and he's like, "And you take your fucking shirt off and you're playing 5 on 5 on their basketball court during a party in which people are throwing fireworks into a bonfire, throwing somebody threw a toaster in the pool, it wasn't plugged in, people were doing drugs, underage kids were fucking drinking, like all this crazy shit's going on behind you, and you're playing 5 on 5 in the driveway with your shirt off. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, how drunk were you? And I'm like, what? And he was like, you had to be drunk to go to this party with all this shit going on in the background, and you're playing fucking 5 on 5 in the driveway with your shirt off. And I'm like, we won? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I left the party during a break in action. It's not like I quit. We beat their ass. What are you talking about? And he's just like, so you mean that you were there and you didn't do any of that shit? And I was like, no. I Man, I said I didn't even make it up the driveway before I was being pushed into a basketball game. Because people always want to prove themselves because I'm like an actual a big person and an athlete, and like most people are not kids. Most people are like 5'8", 5'10", 5'11", 160 pounds, right? So they show up to a party and you ain't never been, and they're like, "Hey, Malak, let's play." Like, okay, hey, I'll definitely beat your ass. That's free money, right? So, absolutely. When you hear someone's throwing fireworks into a bonfire, are you going anywhere near the bonfire? No. When you hear that like underage kids have snuck into the liquor cabinet, when you hear they've been getting beat out of the garage and sneaking them, are you gonna go investigate? No. No. No, I'm just gonna stay out here and play basketball. When all the cute girls came out and were watching us play, they weren't. I noticed they weren't fucking around on the pool. They weren't fucking around on the fire. Oh, they were courtside watching all the boys play basketball, right? Including like the host of the party, who was playing basketball. I'm assuming when the cops showed up. So remember, like the host's the mother is the one that came and gave me my clothes and told me to skedaddle, and I was like, say no more. Like I'll roll bounce. She even gave me I think she gave me some food and a drink too. I don't remember. I drove home like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah. And the little bit of shit I got, like the kid who was the host of the party, cut my tires at school as revenge, uh, and fessed up to it and just fixed my tires. 'Cause he got caught on camera, and he just told me he like got put up to it. Good on you to just fess up like that. Why'd you do that, Brian? Everybody convinced me that you called the cops on us, and I was like, oh, and you actually think I did that to you? And he's like, no, I don't think you're that kind of person. He's decided to like flat my tires. Cool story, bro. So that was fucking high school. So all those people have to have like a deep rooted hatred for me. Have to. Otherwise, they haven't thought about me at all, which is like far more likely. Hmm? Is just not having thought about me at all because it's weird, right? But we all know what really happened. Hmm. Yeah. Well, I think so. Somebody told me many moons later, I was hanging out with people that I went to high school with at a bar, and somebody said, when such and such threw your clothes in the pool, the whole mood of the party changed. Like everyone there was like, man, fuck that. And like the host had to come out and like grab my shit because I was out in their driveway giving these boys work. And then they like pulled everything apart and like put it in a dryer, and I was like, oh my god, like why would you do that to this nice kid? Like whatever, you know. And that was the first time I ever went to a party, And they came out and they were like, "Hey, they threw your clothes in the pool. I tried to dry them off." And I was like, "Okay." And they were like, "But like your wallet's good and like all your money's good and it's a little wet and shit, but like none of it's missing." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So somebody like ran off with my bag and threw it in the pool. And they were like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Cool." And they're like, "You should get out of here, man." Like, okay. Hmm? Say no more. I'll take my ball and go home. Go play basketball on my basketball court. So yeah, I obviously was riled the fuck up because I asked my parents, like, did y'all call the police? And they were like, no, the police called us. And they said, where's Jared? And they were like, well, he has to be home, by midnight. And they were like, well, the party that he was at, the cops showed up. And apparently, my parents had just got off the phone with another parent who was like bailing their kid out of jail uh, when I come strolling in the door. And of course, my dad's like this, and my mom is like, "Oh my god!" She's like, "Did you call the cops?" And I'm like, "Call the cops? Why?" And they were like when you're at that party, did you call the police? And I was like, no, why would I do that? And my dad was like, oh, thank God. Like, hey, real talk, if you're having a problem, we need to know. And I was like, nah, nah, I'm good. I did go outside and shoot hoops for a little bit to decompress before I like went in the house, took a shower, and went to bed. But like, um, I think she knew if my parents found out that if my parents, by the way, my parents cannot have imagined creating this thing. Okay, so when my if my parents would have found out that somebody threw my bag in the pool and they didn't clean it and just handed me a fucking wet bag of clothes, the story is a lot different. Because I'm not the kind of person to let somebody step on me like that. I'm the kind of person to figure out who did that, and then we have a real serious conversation involving me trying to figure out if I can put this from one side of your face to the other a few times with both hands. So I think what she did was like diffuse the situation and, hey man, get out of here. It's only gonna get worse because these kids are drinking and doing drugs and all kinds of shit. And that was not me. It was just not. I mean, I was a dare kid. You know what I mean? Until I went to college. Ultimately, it took a little while for me to get on the train, but once you've seen the effects of alcohol and what it does to people, like in college, um, it will take you off it. If you see, I don't know, in my instance, rape, right? It will make you not want to really drink ever again. And I think like I was mostly not a blackout drunk ever in my whole life. I was mostly like a social drinker, and I kind of blame it because of that. One died from OD, one died from alcoholism. It's wild. See that was a lot. That was happened a lot when I was growing up. Is people were dropping like flies because of substance abuse. Yeah, Squint. So years later, so talk about a funny story. So years later, I uh, I came home from the Marine Corps, and one of my classmates reached out and was like, "Hey man, go to this bar around the corner from where you live. A bunch of your teachers go there once a week, and chill at the bar. No shit. So it was like my high school football coaches, my wrestling coach, some of my teachers, and I went to the bar, dapped everybody up. What's up, y'all? Had a beer, had a shot with everybody. Like everybody was cool, and they were like, talking about the Marine Corps, talking about Purdue. I always talk about like how close I got to playing sports in college and shit, and like of course commiserating with my coaches, just like wish we would have pushed you when you were younger. To work harder in the weight room, and then you could have played in college. That was kind of the vibe. Like we weren't mad. We were just glad you're alive and shit. And you're not a fuck up, right? But they told me that what really happened was the host called the cops because the party got out of control and things were off the rails, and they could reel in their own kid, you know. Uh, the host realized after the party started they didn't want to host the party. They had a nice house. They didn't need to be hosting that party, and there wasn't a good way to shut it down because there was factions of people at this. It was probably the biggest party my town had ever seen. In terms of like all at one person's house, there had to be 150 kids there. It was insane. Like I mean, there were people watching us play basketball. So the same people that came out and gave me my clothes and told me to get the fuck out of there also called the cops on them on their own house party, and let them kids run with the idea that I narked on them because they realized he's a good kid, and these kids that are dumb enough to think Malat narked on them, they ain't gonna do shit. So like he can handle the little bit of stress for us not having to cop to our own kids that we narked on them at a party that we hosted because it got out of hand and we couldn't control it and there was too many people, and it's not like they just had a bullhorn and the ability to corral people and get them to fucking leave. No, they were parked like down the street on the main road. Like, in order to get to that party, by the time I left it, you know how I tell you, I pulled out of their driveway, out of their neighborhood, and went out on this road and went down here and turned left. When I pulled up to that stop sign, people were walking up to the party from the stop sign, like a mile from that fucking house. And I'm just shaking my fucking head like, not in a million fucking years, bro. And then, like I said, as I'm making that sweeping left turn, I'm like watching the cops turn, like, what the fuck is going on here? That's wild. hmm But yeah. So, yeah, if you ever wondered why uh, I don't have a lot of support, I can point to an event that happened when I was in high school. That's why kids I don't go to high school with don't fuck with me, is because there's some lingering thought in their mind that Malak Malak narked on us, and a lot of people got like it fucked up their lives and shit. hmm Yeah, my football coach, the way he explained it to me was that the host felt like you were the only innocent person there, and that like everyone else was party to it, and like you kind of weren't. It's like I didn't even cross the threshold is kind of the way it was explained. It's like the closest I went was to the garage door into the laundry room where she had put my clothes in the dryer and handed me my clothes and said skedaddle. And like just get out of here. Here's a drink, here's some food, like get like yeah. So, and keep in mind, this isn't like an adult covered for me when I was doing something fucking wrong. Nope. The host realized after the party started they didn't want to host a party and they had no real good way to shut that down. It's too many people. Hmm. And so think about what would have to happen in order for me to gain the support of my classmates. Hundreds of people have to figure out Malat didn't narc on us. You could dislike me for any other reason, but I know that's why. For a fucking fact. Because why? Many years later, when I came home from the Marine Corps, I went to the bar one night and hung out with my teachers and my high school coaches, and they told me exactly what the fuck happened. Because why? Because the fucking cops investigated that shit for a long time, and word gets the fuck around. Hmm. And there were some teachers for a moment that thought that I narked too. Hmm. I got asked by a couple of teachers if I narked on all my classmates. Hmm. And I was like, no, why the fuck would I do that? That's silly. I was there. Yeah, I was at that party. And they're like, yeah, but you weren't like partying though. I'm 17, 18 years old. Fuck do you mean? Yeah, see, my mom grew up at a nursing home, and the only thing that pissed me off about nursing homes is the same thing about when I was on active duty. Um, I was in the psych ward for a little bit, and the only way they would let you leave the facility is if you smoke cigarettes. So if you ever wondered why people that served in the military are so nicotine dependent, it's because even if your brain fucking breaks and they put you in a fucking psych ward, the only way for you to go outside and touch grass is if you smoke cigarettes. And they'll give you a cigarette break, like 6 minutes every hour, hmm where you can go outside. Nursing homes, the thing that bothered me is my mom worked at a nursing home. She worked at Miller's Mary Manor. And the people were fucking sweethearts, but they were basically confined to a chair. And a lot of those people told me that what the reason that they die is because of bed sores. And it fucking drove me crazy that these people basically sleep when it's dark and then they sit in a fucking wheelchair all day and they can hardly fucking move. You basically have to be para or quad to get a cart that is requires you to not move it with your hands, right? The carts that you can use the mouthpiece to move. Um, so they can't move. And so the one of the kids that told me when I used to go to the nursing home, and I couldn't do it because it's such a heavy thing, to tell them what books I was reading from the library, because someone had read it and they could tell everybody what the book that I was reading. So that's why I got into John Grisham, is so that when I went to the nursing home and I told the patients what I was reading, it would take them longer than a day to find someone in the nursing home that had read the book that could tell them what the book was about, because they couldn't go to the library, which was next door and connected via pathway. Now, I'm sure that things have gotten fucking better now, but one of the things that the patients would ask me to do is reposition their chair so they could like see out and look out of a window, or look at spin me this way. I can't really spin that way. And so they could see and help them move around and shit. Not so much like guide their wheelchair as like help them do something that would just take too much energy for them to do on their own. And then think about all these people walking around that work here that like aren't here for that, by the way. And again, this was more than 20 years ago. Yeah, a lot of neglect goes on in nursing homes. Yeah, yeah, because the one of the biggest problems that people have in nursing homes is they'll fight. They don't want to take their meds. They don't want to eat. They don't want to sleep. They don't want to go to bed and be quiet. When it's time to be quiet, people are just unruly. They're not used to living in like a public setting with other people. You know, it takes some getting used to. And not to mention your facilities are leaving you. You know your dementia's setting in and shit. And again, a lot of people are hanging on by a thread. You know, very rarely. You know, I worked in the Medicare industry for years. Very rarely, a lot of those people abuse older people too. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Stace. My wife's uncle Terry died at 67, I think. He was a fucking chain smoker to the end. He was on fucking oxygen. Imagine take a hit off a cigarette, put the oxygen mask on, take a deep puff. You know, how high was he walking around? You know what I mean? That little nicotine high, uh, breathing that pure oxygen, just. Mm. You know what I can't wait for when the old people are stoners. You know what I mean? When the geriats aren't cokeheads and alcoholics. When the when the elders get on that flower power. I can't wait. I cannot wait. Can you wait? Like imagine Betty White, but she was a stoner. You know what I'm saying? What about Liam Neeson, except he's a huge stoner? Wouldn't that? Because here's the thing I really. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing that's got to happen. Because it weirds me the fuck out the way they uh, gravitate towards celebrity couples. First of all, shout out Pam Anderson. Okay, shout out Pam Anderson for going with the natural look as you age. Fucking props. Okay. Um. Yeah. Yeah. So bad situation when patients refuse their meds, nurses get in trouble for it. Like the adults say they want their meds, they don't take it, but the administration write it up. Yeah. Yep. One of the things that one of my clients told me one time is that yeah, but I would love it if they weren't so they are so physically in love with each other. They like each other so much that I just wish they'd smoke a fucking joint and chill the fuck out and just be like normal people. You know what I mean? Because we are watching two celebrity elderly people reenact the fucking Titanic scene, and I'm here like those people need a fucking edible. She needs to cover her shoulders. It is brisk, and he needs a fucking cane. Like, what are we talking about? Like, y'all need to chill the fuck out. You're gonna throw a hip. You know what I'm saying? That I'm being considerate for my elders by saying you got to stop taking the Geritol. Like, roll a fucking joint. You're gonna be fine. There is absolutely no goddamn reason why you're in your like 50s and 60s reenacting the fucking Titanic scene on the bow of a boat, and neither of you are boatsmen. You know what I'm saying? I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just throwing it out. You know what I mean? It's just like I just thought that I would throw that out there. Like y'all would be so much cooler if you just smoke a joint. Smoke a fucking joint. God damn, sit down. When I see people having conversations on podcasts, in my head, I'm like, can you imagine Stephen Colbert interviewing Kamala Harris, but they're both blowed? I'm telling you. Were their guards completely down? They don't have no filter. They forget what the fucking question was, right? You get a little tangential. No, just me. Sometimes I want to see him get a little turnt. You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen. If you've never smoked a joint, taken a shot of Patron, and just fucking gone gone in 60 seconds, I don't know what to tell you. Nowadays, it's hit the joint, take a shot of Patron, and go get in the fucking Uber. You are not operating a motor vehicle. Oh yeah, it will absolutely have a big impact on short-term memory. hmm I'm willing to sacrifice that. hmm One of the things I learned is the easiest way to cope with gestures generally is to have the memory of a goldfish. I think a beloved TV show. Yeah, he could just get oil and the smell would go away. So THCA is the same thing. It's just it's grass on fire. So you could get a THCA thing. Like I'm not advocating, but like I have one that would take the gummies are like tripping. Gummies are getting you higher than weed does. Yeah, I think you make a change for someone you like, though, right? Hey, they appealed my access and said my live access will not be restored. They said that my content violated their guidelines. Squint says I never did drugs till gummies was legal. Yeah, helps with rheumatoid arthritis. Yeah. hmm I one of the reasons I got into it is because I found if I drink, I can't drive a car, right? And so like if you're not able to drive, you kind of trap yourself when you drink. Uh, but if you blow trees first, you sip, you don't drink as much booze. The sensation of being stoned goes away, and you aren't drunk. You only had like a beer, and you're a lot safer to fucking operate a motor vehicle. Hmm? Yeah. So that's kind of what I did. Is I'd go somewhere to party, and I would step outside with somebody and blow trees, and then go to the party and just be like everybody else, having a good time. But booze, I can only think of one time where I intentionally like didn't blow trees and just drank as hard as I could fucking drink. It's because there's this beer um, called Zombie Dust that is aptly fucking named from Three Floyds. It's a stanky, it's a stanky fucking beer. And when they have a pony keg of that shit that is 33.1 degrees or whatever, it's barely above freezing. Um, you see how many of those you can drink before you end up vertical or horizontal. Sorry. And we did that. hmm Other than that, I was just not that kind of person. hmm I literally woke up under a pool table, asleep. You know what I mean? Next to my friend. I don't think it's like the side effects of prescription drugs and good pain relief, no long deadly side. Yeah, that was a big thing that I found too in terms of prescription drugs. We are not live on Twitch. I just realized. Sorry about that. I want to make sure that we talk about. All right, so Donald Trump fired the labor statistics chief hours after data showed job growth slowed. Okay, I want to make sure that we point this out. The reason that I think that she got fired is because after she turned in the information, they doctored it, and still were Donald Trump was unhappy with the numbers because the reality is job growth slowed to a crawl in June, and they won't admit that to you. Donald Trump cannot admit that he's fucked up the economy. We said, it's going to take a while for the results of that to be found. But here's the thing: when he's going out of his way to destroy the nature of information, right? He's going out of his way, firing the labor statistics chief. That, by the way, just started in January 2024, so it only been there like 18 months. Okay, don't normally fire the messenger. Shoot the messenger. Sorry. Big yawn. Her name, because of course it was a woman, is Erica um, McIntyre. You're welcome. So keep this in mind. The ethics report that came out, my wife got it for me on TikTok Shop. I would look up FDT hat on the TikTok Shop. hmm All right, so hold on. Bob said for some reason I can't smell anything when I'm smoking. Oh yeah, my sense of smell is shot. And my sense of taste is shot. It has to be like strong in order for me to taste it. Oh yeah. Yeah, this is the ultimate narcissist, cannot be held accountable, right? He's convinced these tariffs are the right thing to do, uh, and it's not. And again, one of the reasons he's doing all this shit is so that he is not going to be held accountable. And again, I want to just point out that for a lot of the people that voted for him, this Epstein shit was the line in the sand. They really expected the Epstein list to come out. And now they're saying, oh, there's Democrats on that list. And to that I say, oh, I want to know. I want to know who's funding the gay agenda that's on that list. I want to know. Angie asked, did you hear anything about the whistleblower, Jared, not being legit? You talking about Zarkowski, the guy that ex-CIA and shit? So, one of the things, again, that I'm not going to do is I'm not going to judge harshly the whistleblower. I am going to, however, focus on the President of the United States and how he acts and behaves. And if I see an escalation uh, in Donald Trump's severity of his behavior, like parking nuclear subs within range of Russia, I believe. Uh, yeah, some are saying he's a grifter. That's too bad. So, do you mean by grifter that he's not legit? Not former CIA, didn't analyze the election? Because he could be a grifter and have analyzed the election. I mean, I went to school for data analytics. I looked at one set of data and said that's doctored. And I've been vindicated since. A lot. Walmart raised their prices by 10%. Cease. I watched a video of someone talking about buying a Switch at 449 and now it's 453. That would be a 10% increase in prices. Yeah, people are trying to discredit him. I noticed that. People went out of their way. I noticed that none of them said he didn't work for the CIA and didn't analyze the election. You notice that that's not included in the critique? I noticed it. I was like, oh, where's the information that suggests that he wasn't in the CIA? Oh, it's not there. Where's the information that suggests that he did not analyze the 2024 election? Oh, there's no information that says that did not happen. Oh, did he write a book? Okay. People seem to equate writing a book with being a grifter. I want to point out with being a grifter is it's something for nothing. That's what a grift is. Just so everybody understands what the term means, something for nothing. And so if someone writes a book and sells it, that ain't a grift. That's a book they're trying to sell that they wrote. You know what I mean? Oh, I get cotton mouth like a motherfucker. So there's a reason I drink coffee. It's because I get cotton mouth. You talking about DJT? Had an interview yesterday and was asked about KKK Caroline, and he said she's got incredible lips. Yeah, something about the way she moves. Yeah, yeah. He's in his demented little mind. KKK Caroline is a young girl. Remember, she's only 27, married to a 70-year-old man. I would not have a problem with that because I'm not ageist. I do wonder, though, 53 years apart. You know what I mean? I do wonder how long she's known that person. Yeah. Hey, he has made lewd comments about his own child. You know what I mean? See, it's not that I hate the Catholic Church. It's a funny. It's just, you had to be there. So we're on YouTube and Twitch. Uh, went live, got banned in 8 minutes. Here's a story. Mass baby graves being excavated in Ireland decades after discovery at Catholic run home. This just in, the richest 1% own half of all the wealth and are only getting richer every day. In case you wondered, is there no bottom? Donald Trump appointed known sex offender Lawrence Taylor. Western support for Israel is crumbling. Remember, a lot of people were mourning Ozzy Osbourne lately, and it's one of those don't meet your heroes kind of instances. But I did want to make sure that I did share. Here's Sharon Osbourne saying that the Palestinians are actually starving their own women and children, and it's a deliberate ploy for sympathy. And again, I just say, don't meet your fucking heroes. It's not she's a piece of shit, but it's she's a piece of shit and. I just want to make sure we don't make exceptions for people. When people show you who they really are, fucking believe them. Just so you know. Amir Ohana told delegates the Palestinian state can be established in London or Paris. Uh, Want to point out that's how a spokesperson for Israel spoke to the UN. And I want to make sure that we make people aware of refeeding syndrome. So, one of the things that I've learned lately is there are depths to starvation. And one of the problems that can happen when you're being starved is you could end up with what's called refeeding syndrome. And this means you're so starved that you can't eat. Your body won't hold on to food, it will reject it. So that's what's going to be a big problem in Gaza. It's not just that they're starving millions of people and they keep corralling them and then bombing the corralled people and then moving them and bombing them where they move them, and um, they have completely destroyed Gaza And I want to continue to point out that they've done all this so they can build a resort there and build a military base there and expect to have peace there, including Leonardo DiCaprio is part of an investment group that has ties to building a resort in Israel, in Gaza, which is Gaza is attempting to claim the Gaza Strip. That's part of their genocide. It's part of their expansionist imperialist ways. I want to continue to iterate Israel of today is not the Israel from the Bible. The Israel of today was founded in 1948 by David Ben Gurion, who was then the head of the Jewish Agency. And again, its whole purpose, Israel's whole purpose, is to be a militaristic ally to the United States in the Middle East under the guise of democracy, right? And its goal is to mimic and copy the way the United States has operated in the past. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yep. Free Palestine and Slavic Ukraine. Better believe it. Here's 20 plus years ago. Here's Vladimir Putin saying he had no problem with Ukraine joining the UN because they're a sovereign nation. Here's Here's a pro Israel fanatic yelling profanities, death threats, and anti Semitic hate speech at Jewish activists peacefully protesting Israel's starvation and genocide at Gaza. Notice it's a white person. You ever notice that? Just a white dude. Who's this white person? Like, who's this white dude in the University of Texas at? What the fuck you know about Israel, bro? Western backed Al Qaeda running Syria now state their intentions of normalizing with Israel. Fuck, man. Where was this thing about whistleblower? Here's a whistleblower in Gaza talking about what's going on there. Yeah, I want to make sure we reiterate like every day, hey, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the funder of NPR and PBS, says it will end operation within months. Yeah, one of the things I've learned in my life about Papple is that they're just people too. And we glorify Papple and we hold them up like we do gods. They're just people. They're just sad people too. One of the things I did a long time ago is I stopped making exceptions for people and saying when somebody has dismissed a group on the whole and said, the Catholic Church is pretty awful. There are no exceptions. If there are 9 Nazis at a table, but there's one person that was like a good person at that table, there are 10 Nazis at that table. It's that simple. Google lost a lawsuit, an antitrust lawsuit. One of the things that happened when you were growing up is you kind of got told that you're not allowed to hold people accountable. You're not judge and jury, right? But one of the things that I learned in my life is you don't have to fuck with everybody. Yeah, that's right. If people are awful, they're awful. It's just a fucking. It's the way it is. Mm. Where's Miss Dina? Hadn't seen her lately. Yep, exactly, Squint. I'll never forget one of the best people that I've ever met. Her name's Laura Helm. She went to Duke Divinity School. She's a Methodist pastor. The Methodist Church didn't allow women to be head pastors. So she gave up a tenured teaching career to be a Methodist pastor and couldn't be the head pastor. She's the best speaker. She's the most kind person. She's like one of my best friends for most of my childhood. But they wouldn't let her be in charge. So I had one foot out the door on organized religion before I graduated high school because they wouldn't let the person that is one of the main reasons I'm still here. They wouldn't let her be a head pastor, but they let Gene Young, for example, be the head pastor of my church, and that man didn't even believe in God. That man saw himself doing a job, a duty. hmm I mean, fuck, it was lucrative for him. Wasn't a 40-hour work week. Mostly spent the week being a do-gooder. All you really got to do is show up on Sunday and deliver. This is interesting. I'm going to read this statement from the Election Truth Alliance. On the allegations of the NSA authorized forensic audit of the 2024 U.S. presidential election. I shared the link. This is from August 1st. We have been made aware of claims circulating online that allege the existence of a national security NSA authorized forensic audit of the 2024 U.S. presidential election. At this time, the Election Truth Alliance cannot speak to this claim as we have not seen supporting documentation. We are interested in learning more, particularly should supporting documentation or other corroborating evidence become available. The Government Accountability Project provides resources for U.S. whistleblowers. The ETA, Election Truth Alliance, has added an anonymous tip line and submission form to their website. Our organization's stance that patterns consistent with vote manipulation are present in 2024 U.S. election results is based on analysis of publicly available state and local election data using multiple evidence-based methodologies. We recommend that state and local governments conduct non-routine audits to investigate these anomalies further, and that the American public demand hand counts of paper voting records for all future elections. The ETA has also received inquiries regarding one or more specific congressional races in the 2024 U.S. election. We see no issue with initiating analysis of election data associated with such races, and we will share our preliminary findings as soon as they are available. Let's see where the data leads. Signed by the Election Truth Alliance team. So here's the thing that story did not do. That story did not discredit the existence of an NSA-backed analysis of the 2024 U.S. election. That's what it did not do. So, I mean, and I think it goes without saying, like, I was in college at Purdue University in the last year of the data analytics program. This is after they teach you how to do all the math, and then they teach you how to use the programs that they conduct data analysis with. I told this group of people, right, all the way back in November, and we got told that we were crazy. We got we blew up in popularity, and then people quickly soured because they're results oriented and they don't understand there's a reason we called it Justice's Waiting Room. We're going to be here for a while. We're going to be here for a while. My hope is that Kamala Harris uses the next 18 months, 2 years, and change to build a coalition. And I want to be on the opposite side of that as the head of the American Socialist Party, pushing the Democratic Party to the left while the Republican Party fucking crumbles. So as far as I'm concerned, beyond a shadow of a doubt, Kamala Harris is the president. Tim Walz is the fucking VP. Okay, and we'll see what other races were that there was cheating in and how far this corruption fucking goes. hmm hmm So I've been called a crazy person Oh yeah, better fucking believe it. Better fucking believe it. Yep. And I didn't say anything. You know why? Because I did my homework. I subjected the publicly available data of the 2024 US election to the same rigid testing standards that I would any project I was given in college that I also got a fucking A on. And within a few minutes of analyzing the publicly available data from the 2024 US election, it did not even take very long. Uniform increase across all 50 states. You mean to tell me, think about this in abstract, of all the things that you know, do you believe in your heart of hearts that the United States population shifted right since January 6, 2021? Like 2.5%. A pretty significant margin. No, no. I think people are becoming more awake, aware, and alive every single day because what this administration is doing is so stark. So because I don't support that level of corruption and all that awful shit, I also don't feel bad. Don't feel bad for calling it out. Okay? So because I'm not the fucking evil guy in this fucking story, it's not also killing me. So I appreciate y'all. Um, hang on to your hats. We should really check the weather. We should really check the weather because the weather has caught me the last couple of days with my pants down. And what I mean is like I didn't correctly anticipate the weather. Okay. When I open Y'allbot and I see my part of the Midwest, my fucking heart stops. Hey, Sioux Falls, Vermilion, and Sioux City on this tri-state area. What is that? Extreme heat warning. Phoenix is going to be 110 to 113 degrees today. Iowa River flooding continues, affecting Tama County. Tomorrow, flood threat shifts to the Central Plains. Right. Hey, you guys have a good Saturday. It's quiet mostly. No tornado warnings. Zero severe thunderstorm warnings active anywhere in the country. No storm chasers on the map. Calm at the moment. Stream is in standby mode. A lot of flood potential. A lot of heat. Yeah, I'm worried about that too, Cat. Be careful. God, just keep your head on a fucking swivel. Good to go. Remember, 8 hours of sleep a night. Take a nap if you must. Drink water. Eat right. Exercise. Stay on your fucking toes, kids.